Well, good morning, Amy. Where are we starting today?
St. Paul, Minnesota.
That's right, and you are looking lovely today as usual. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited because what are we doing today?
We're gonna go do Grumpy Old Men filming locations.
That's right. I'm so excited. This is a movie that me and my grandmother even loved together. Like, we would watch it together, and starring Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau, and Margaret. This is a true classic.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go.
We'll see you later. Now, the movie is supposed to take place in Wabasha, Minnesota, but it doesn't. It takes place over here. And this is the street that the three famous houses from the movie reside on. Ah, this is so cool for me. This first house right here was John Gustafson's house. And that was Max Goldman's house. And then right across the street, over here behind this tree, was Ariel Truax's house and Margaret. So here we'll walk over and give you a little bit better view of Ariel's house. Of course, we see the U-Haul moving truck in front right over here. It's all snowy during the movie, but the U-Haul's out here unloading and moving her in. And Max comes walking out of the house and says to John, "I think someone's moving into the old Klickner place." And he goes, "Oh, did you figure that out, Sherlock?" You know, as everybody's moving in. It's kind of cool to see this is where the moving trucks would have been. And even though you can see the walkway that Max and Chuck eventually take to go have their dinner with Ariel is there, but right over here, Amy, do you remember what was over here on the hill? Right there beside the house, that scene?
Her sauna, right?
That's right. She had that sauna out there, and she comes running out and is rolling around in the snow out there. Actually, this house, Amy, did you know this house is the reason that they even filmed here? They were obsessed with wanting to film at this house.
Oh, cool.
So what I read was that when they went to make this movie, one of the things that they were looking for were a densely clustered neighborhood full of houses, but they wanted one house that was on its own plot, kind of like separated from itself on a corner up on a hill. That was this house. So they mainly wanted it because they said they wanted to show, you know, her in a kind of an elevated light, plus for that snowmobile scene where she rides up there onto the sidewalk, and of course, like Amy said, the sauna scene. The stairway and the walkway that Chuck and Max both take up there to visit Ariel. Now Ariel she's this free-spirited Berkeley professor that moves to the area, and both those guys across the street, they're pretty much afraid of her. Max and John, they're interested, but they're afraid. And one of the things that was interesting about this is that they said, you know, when they decided they wanted this house, the couple that lived here had lived here for decades, and the old man just didn't want people in his house. But the production was dead set on wanting to film right here, so they kept increasing offers, and he kept saying no. And even the people that had agreed to loan their houses over here for John and Max's house, they were kind of pressuring them to sign as well. So they eventually got basically an agreement that they would give him $14,000, I believe it was, and re-side the house, re-roof the house, and any damage that was done, they would replace. They would do everything. Now what's funny is that apparently they didn't film most of the interiors here. Amy, do you happen to remember a couple of days ago where we were that they filmed the interiors for this movie?
Paisley Park.
That's right. One of the only movies at the soundstage where we were walking through Paisley Park showing his cars and his memorabilia and everything. Those sound stages, they recreated the interiors of this house because, of course, they couldn't film in here, but they would film the exterior scenes out on that porch. And so I read that Anne Margaret was so charming that she actually was charming this couple every time that they would come over, and when Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau, and Anne Margaret would work on any kind of scene together, they would sit up here on these steps together and talk to the family. So in the end, they said that the old man actually really started to look forward to whenever Anne Margaret had a scene, because his wife said that she thought that he had developed a crush on her. So this house was in the family up until a year ago. And what I understand, I don't see it, but at one time there was a plaque that they put up letting people know that this was affiliated with the movie. It's cool to see. I love that scene where she's riding the snowmobile through the neighborhood up and down this street, because you see Max go, drive pretty fast in that thing. It's great. So, on to these two. The deal with these two is that they have been friend enemies for most of their life. They were friends when they were younger. They fell in love with the same girl when they were in their teens. John won her. Her name was May. And Max never let him forget it. So we see this quite a bit in the movie because John has this problem with the IRS. So the IRS man's always up there knocking on his door. And if you remember, there's a piece missing over here on the side, but John would escape through that window on the side to sneak out. In that scene, when they're banging on his door, he sneaks out up there and then slides down what was there before, goes around the back of the house, and then comes around the other side of Max's house over here. And that's one of my favorite scenes because Max comes out and says, "Who's over there yakking at your door?" And he says, "I'll forget it." And then the guy who's the tax man comes over here and says, "Do you guys know Mr. Gustafson?" And they're both standing there. John's standing there with Max. And Max says, "John Gustafson? You mean that low-life egg sucker Gustafson? Guy who's always out hanging around those kinky strip clubs? You know, the ones where the men take their clothes off?" Great scene. So here's Max's house. The deal with this movie, what's going on in the movie, is now that Anne Margaret has moved into the neighborhood, both of these guys, even though they're kind of afraid of her, once they go to Chuck's bait shop after Thanksgiving, they're both interested in her. And so we see them both preparing to go over and ask her out, and we see Max is the first one ready. So he comes walking out that door, trotting down this front, walking down these stairs, and then goes over and ends up having the first night with her. But then Ariel's interested in John, so at night she comes banging on his door and goes in there and uses his upstairs bathroom to spy on him a little bit. I love seeing this. This is great to me also because if you remember in the movie, Max loses his fishing pole at one point and John gets it and breaks it and then repairs it. You see these guys out front sword fighting and with the fishing poles. Also, when John gets mad and puts the fish in Max's car would have been right out here. So before we leave here, I do want to point out that very ending scene. Actually, a couple of things. One of the things that's an ongoing joke with this that I love is that these two are always out with the hose spraying the roof of their houses on each other's house, because once you slam the door, all that snow is supposed to come falling down and land on each other. So they end up doing that at the very end when the tax man comes to take over John's house. The house has been all boarded up by Max, that door, and Max has done all the snow up on top. So when Jacob, Max's son, played by Kevin Pollak, comes to stop them from doing anything, gives them the injunction, that's when Max and Anne Margaret are standing right here and just going, "Jacob, no, 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 ixnay, ixnay." And then as soon as they walk away, all the snow falls down right on top of the IRS guy. All right, we've made it over to Rockford, Minnesota, Lake Rebecca. All right over here at the boat dock area of Lake Rebecca, you can see the road that John and Max tear into here and tear out of here from. They actually, at the time, didn't have as much snow as they needed, so they had to truck in snow for this scene. There you can see them driving in right there. There's Chuck's bait shop. So we seen John come driving down through here, pull in right about where we are and smash into those cans. And then Chuck's bait shop would have been right over here on the side where Amy is, over by these trees. So the bait shop is right there, and that's of course where, after Chuck has went and had his dinner with Ariel. The guys come in there to buy their bait and they start hitting around. How was the turkey at the VFW last night, Chuck? Turkey was exquisite. Cut the crap, Chuck. What were you doing over there? You were over there all night. Then he starts telling about how great Ariel is, and you can see they're both interested, and Chuck tells him, you should go over there, live a little, go meet her. Oh no, I don't want anything to do with her. Women fall too hard for me. Like one of them their fatal attractions. But they've actually redone the boat dock over here since the filming, but this is where they take off in their boats. Originally it was an L-shaped dock. This is supposed to be Lake Wabasha in the movie. Amy, this is your first time in Minnesota, this trip that we did this, and especially with today's vlog, we've got to see quite a bit of Minnesota. What do you think of it so far?
It's so pretty. It has so much color to it. It's like a Bob Ross painting or a Monet. Happy little trees.
Yep, there's Amy's Bob Ross moment.
There's happy little trees everywhere.
So right here you see the exterior of the 331 Club, but in the movie, this is where at the holiday dinner, Melanie shows up with Mike. John doesn't expect it. He's already in a bad mood because he told Ariel that he wanted to be alone and kind of sent her off to Max. So John has gotten pissed off, stormed out of the house, and came down to Slippery's, his local watering hole. And the interesting thing about this, the little movie magic here, is that they didn't actually film the bar scene inside. They just used this for the exteriors, but we're gonna go over to where they filmed it, the interiors, and that's where Max Goldman comes to meet up with John after he's found out that John stormed out of the house. Now the actual bar that they filmed inside of is about 20 minutes away. So let's head over there now. It's a pretty great mural over there. So Amy and I showed you where the exteriors to Slippery's was, but the interiors were actually filmed right here at Halftime Rec. Let's go on in. So here Max comes in and John's sitting up here at the bar having a drink, and they start talking, and John basically is upset, not because Mike came, that's just part of it. He's more upset because he felt bad for Max and told Max that, well, he told Ariel that he didn't want her, and so her and Max had started hanging out more. So in here, this is where John's saying, you know, do you love her? At least it'll make it all worth it. And Max goes, what are you talking about, Gustafson? I thanked you for the fishing pole. It pisses me off that you had to break it first, being the schmuck that you are. And he goes, you think this is all about a fishing pole, you moron? This is about Ariel. You made me feel sorry for you, Max. And he goes, bull, she chose me. And John starts getting up and he walks out that door, and Max stands up and says, she did, and anybody says otherwise is a damn liar. Kind of cool to see these filming locations after seeing this movie since the early 90s. And over here where these tables are, in the film they were actual pool tables, and the red door I'm going to show you is the same red door you see in the background of the shot.
What's the difference? You got it anyway.
You can see this in the background of the shot while John and Max are arguing at the bar. So check this out. Inside they have a movie poster, and behind the bar they actually have some pictures from the movie. There you can see them sitting up at the bar, and then there's Max walking in the bar.
Great food, bocce music.
We're entering the town from the very ending church scene, and I saw this water tower and just had to put it on. It says, welcome to Lindstrom. Well, we have arrived at our final scene in the movie. So right here we have that last scene at the church, and I love this one. This is where Jacob and Melanie are standing here talking. They put a couple of headstones so it looks like there's a cemetery here in the movie, because they make you think that John has died because he was just in the hospital. So you see Jacob saying, "Oh, I'm sorry about your divorce. I'm gonna be staying at Pop's tonight if you want someone to talk to or anything." And, "Oh, thank you." And then all of a sudden, these doors come into frame. The doors were actually purple at the time, and Burgess Meredith is standing in this doorway, and he says, "Hey, you two, get your asses in here." So Melanie says, "Oh boy, are you ready for this?" Jacob says, "No, I don't think so, but let's go." Cut to inside the church, and we're gonna see if the doors happen to be open that we can get inside and show you that inside wedding scene. That's right, John's not dead, they're getting married. Well, the doors were open, and this is where, once we come in here, we see the wedding party is in here, and you see where Amy is walking. We start seeing Anne Margaret and Burgess Meredith and the whole wedding party come walking down this aisle. And up here you have John Gustafson and Max standing up here, and this is where they have the wedding. And that's all pretty much the same as it was then. So cue the music, bum, 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 and the whole wedding party comes out here. This is actually one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. Everybody comes out here, and John, Ariel, they all come to get into the limo, which the limo is parked right here. And just as they get down here and just about to get in, all of a sudden you hear, "Hey, wait a second!" Burgess Meredith, Dad, is standing right here. He goes, "Aren't you forgetting something?" And he goes in for the wedding kiss. He starts kissing Ariel and Margaret, and as they're kissing, Jack Lemmon goes, "Okay, Dad, I think that's enough." And they keep kissing, okay, Dad, that's enough. So they get into the limo right here. At the very end, right before John gets in the limo, Max tells him that Jacob got the government to waive their penalties, and he covered the 13 grand for the house, so John gets to keep his house. And he goes, "Wipe that stupid smile off your face, because it's only a loan." Then when they hug, he goes, "I'll lay 8 to 5, you can't get it up the whole honeymoon." Jack Lemmon goes, "You're on." And Walter Matthau goes, "I got a sure winner." And they drive off down Main Street right here. And that's one of my favorite scenes, because as you see the limo driving off down this street, the camera turns around right here, and Walter Matthau standing here, and he starts laughing, and he goes, "Putz." And then the limo stops about halfway down the road, and you see John's hand. You see the window to the limo go down, and John's hand sticks out with a dead fish, and he drops the dead fish on the ground. Walter Matthau, Max Goldman had put a dead fish in his wedding chariot. Now, it's funny if you keep watching the movie, because this goes right into the end credits and everything, they show some of the bloopers, and it's really funny. They show Walter Matthau right here waving goodbye as the limo goes away, and then all of a sudden, off to the right of the camera, Jack Lemmon steps in and he goes, "Who are we waving at?" The joke being that he was in the car driving off. Pretty great. And there you have it. Filming locations from Grumpy Old Men. Alright, my friends, thank you all for watching. Thank you JD Parks Gaming Channel and Victoria McMillan for becoming my newest Patreons. Thank you Amy for being in this vlog with me today. Thank you all for watching. I hope you love Grumpy Old Men. Go watch it if you haven't seen it for a while. Have a great night, and goodbye.